Hey everybody, welcome back to the channel. Doing a video today on how to properly repair your kayak. So you've got a quality kayak, you've spent the money, you've used it, which is what you're supposed to do with it, right? So what we're doing here today is I've got a customer's kayak in here that has some cracks. Guys, it's easy to fix if you do it properly. You want to use the right materials and have the right tools. So I've read everything from zip ties to plastic buckets to JB Weld to Flex Seal. So I'm going to go over a couple of reasons why you want to use the right materials and have the right tools. Neither one of these is going to cost you an arm and a leg, and I'll even go over some things to look for and maybe some things to prevent once you've repaired it, prevent it from probably happening again. If you would, stay tuned to the end of the video for that. But again, without further ado, I'll get right into it. Okay, so what you see here, this is a Recon 120 from Wilderness System. Customer brought it in yesterday. He's starting to get some stress cracks where the seat sits in there. And again, not common, but it can happen. And it can happen on a lot of different manufacturers, but for this example here, I'm using this particular boat. So I'll zoom in here and you'll see, I hope it comes through on the video, you'll see a little bit of a stress crack, and I'll show you how I get started, and then we'll go right into the actual repair. So the customer had marked it for me here, but you can see right along here, and then on up in here. So both sides. So what I do is I'll start with a Dremel. You can do just a regular household drill, but you want a really small drill bit. And what I'm going to do here is I'm going to drill at the very end of both ends of the crack. What that's going to do is that's going to prevent that crack from continuing to run. Think about a windshield. So if a windshield cracks, you start with a little chip, and then that thing just starts running all over the place, and then you've got a bigger problem. You've got a bigger problem in the long run than what you started out with. So we got this one early. I'm going to get these drilled out. I'll video that, and then I'll get into the how and the why of what I'm doing and how to properly do this. Alrighty, so okay, so you see how I did that there? That prevents that crack from spreading further, and I'll go ahead and do the rest of it here. Okay, so here on the end of the crack, I've got the hole. On the other end, same thing. Right here and up top there. So now what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna turn this on, I'm gonna drag this along the crack. All I'm doing is I'm widening the crack so I can get the plastic in it. What happens if you don't do that is you're just simply putting plastic on top of it, but you're not fixing the actual problem. So widening it out just a little bit will allow you to get the heat. Again, I'm going to heat this part and the plastic stick, and I'm going to twist and I'm going to push it in. When I'm twisting it, it's going to grab the plastic from the edges of the hole and pull it into it. So it gives you, it's going to look a lot like a metal weld. It's going to have the beads on it. I usually use a little socket just to kind of smooth it out so it just doesn't look all messy, and it also pushes it down there even further. But again, I'll video all this, of course, and always, if you got any questions, just let me know down in the comments there. So see how I've widened that out just a little bit. So that may sound counterproductive, but what it really does, again, it allows me access to fully blend that in instead of just putting that cap on top of it. If you're nervous about doing that, don't worry. Just don't go very wide on it. You just got to have some. If you can see through the crack, you're good enough. When you cut the strip out, and I'll show you what that looks like. Again, if you don't have plastic stock, you can buy it on Amazon. If you have a paddle shop close by that does repairs, a lot of times they'll give you some or sell you some really cheap. You're using the same kind of plastic that this hull is made out of. The reason I say a lot of the other materials out there that I see people use, like plastic buckets and things, that's a different kind of plastic. It's a different composition, and it's also a much, much lower melting point. When I put the heat gun to some of those repairs, it runs off like water. So again, if it's not mixing well with the plastic here, you're just going to be doing it over and over again, and over time that crack is going to work even wider and even longer. So keep that in mind too. But I'm going to go ahead and widen this crack out. I'll show you the after I'm done with that, and then we'll get into filling that with plastic and showing you how I do that. So just also, again, a Dremel and a heat gun. So the heat gun I use, this is the Master Pro Heat LCD. This one's a little pricey, but we do this constantly. If you're just looking to repair a simple crack, you can buy these at Harbor Freight. A lot of different price points on these, and also a lot of your craft stores like Hobby Lobby, things like that. So don't spend a whole bunch of money on this unless you're doing repairs for friends and you're looking to making a business out of it. But this right here, you don't have to go that high on it. You just need something that's going to heat up to about 450, 475 max. Anything over that's kind of overkill, and if you overheat the hull, you run the risk of maybe warping it a little too much though. Okay, so what you see here, this is the plastic stick. Again, it's a big chunk of plastic that I've just cut into, and then I usually cut it to a little point, and as you can see here, it doesn't have to be perfect, but what I'm going to do is I'm going to heat the tip of this with the heat gun, and I'm going to get it to where it's going to have a little bit of a shiny, little bit of a gloss to it, and then it's going to get sticky. What I'm also going to do after that is I'm going to hold this over the crack, and I'm going to have the heat gun going on the crack. So I'm heating both, I'm softening the plastic on both areas, and then I'm going to twist that as I'm bouncing it up and down and moving it along that crack. It's important to heat up the damaged part because you want it to both be soft when it's blending together, and then you want to allow about 24 hours for it to cure, for it to bond together. So again, if I only heated this up and then just put it over the top of it, that's gonna pop off because you still got a crack there, and that cap is just covering it. But as that crack expands, as pressure gets put on it, that cap's gonna work loose, and then you're back to having a crack again. So that's why it's very important to blend that in with the existing hull. If you need practice, any plastic, especially this kind of plastic, you can practice drilling in, you can practice cutting, and you can practice welding that like I'm showing you here if you're nervous about doing that. Obviously, this is always a good, what's good about supporting a local paddle shop that does these, because most of them are going to be able to do this for you, and it's at minimal cost. I know here at Ozark Mountain Trading Company, if you buy new from us, we'll do this for free for as long as you own the kayak. So again, it's always beneficial to have a paddle shop near you, but if you don't, again, this is not rocket science. I know it sounds complicated because I tend to go in a lot of detail, but it's really not. You're heating up, you're softening up both areas of plastic, and then you're just twisting this in.
you can kind of see here how this is filled in nice, and then I'll just keep doing this down the crack, and I do it in sections. So you don't want to heat this up too much. You also don't want to keep going over it as you're fixing it down the line. So again, it's bonded really nice. It's pulled the color and the plastic from the outside of it. So again, it's blended really nice. I've got it, I kind of get that stick deep down in that crack as I'm twisting it, and it kind of, think of the old style, you know, cotton candy machine. You're basically twisting and twisting and twisting until you get a big glob in there, and then as you're twisting it, it's pulling the plastic from the hull into the new plastic in the crack, which bonds it really nicely. Okay, so what you see here, this is the finished product on this side. And as you can see, you can tell where it was welded, of course. And when it cools down, it'll look a little different there, but just kind of wanted to see there. So again, going down that crack. And then what I do is, once I've got it filled and blended there, I'll just use something like this just to go over it while it's still soft, to kind of smoothen it out. And then once, if you've twisted it in there really good and bonded it really well, let that sit for a day, and then don't let it be in direct sunlight. So if you got a garage or something, throw it in there, and that will cure, that will bond really, really well. If you've got a kayak that has a lot of flex in it, or if you see something like this, a good thing to do if you have access to inside the hull, like a hatch or something, get you some canoe blocks, get you some high density foam blocking, and stuff it in there as tight as you can go. Because what that'll do is that will decrease the amount of flex that boat has downward, and that'll allow less travel, and it may not prevent every single crack, obviously, but what it'll do is it'll take a lot of the stress off of that, and it disperses it over a wider area there. So again, kind of a simple tutorial. If you want a little bit more detail, I can kind of go into that, of course, but just wanted to do a really quick video on this. If you have any questions, obviously, let us know down in the comments. We'll get to you as soon as possible. Hey everybody, just wanted to recap my video. So I wanted to show you just the basics. Drilling the holes at the ends of the crack, kind of running that drill along it, or any kind of cutting tool to widen the area that you need to put the plastic in, twisting it, softening both the damaged part as well as the plastic stick so they bond really well together, and letting it sit overnight, letting it cool down really nicely before you use it or put any kind of weight on it. If you have hatch excess, obviously getting some foam blocking, I tend to go a little bit bigger than will actually fit in there, so you can get it in there really, really tight so it won't flex as much. There's a lot of different things you can use, but you want something with a little bit of give to it. I wouldn't put any 2x4 blocking or anything like that in there. Give something that's going to give a little bit, but not too much. Again, something's better than nothing on that. But anyways, if you have anything in particular you want me to look at and want to get my advice on, I'll put my email down in the description below as well. You're more than welcome to send me some pictures of some stuff. I'll be more than happy to give you some advice and maybe some how-to on that. But thank you so much for the support. This has been a really good year so far. We're going to continue to get some content out there. As always, if you like the content, don't forget to drop a like. It really helps us get out to a broader audience. And without further ado, we'll see you on the next one.